After my husband's passing, an amazing discovery about a lost Rolex revealed an unexpected truth that stirred a tempest within me. The rain pounded on the roof like an incessant metronome, echoing the chaos in my mind as I rummaged through the attic, a sanctuary for dust and memories. Each box I pried open sent a shiver down my spine, a mix of nostalgia and sorrow that twisted inside me like a coiled serpent. Tom's absence was profound, an unfillable void, and as I sifted through our shared history, the weight of our life together became almost unbearable. Then, beneath a pile of forgotten relics, I unearthed a rusty safe seemingly inconsequential yet pulsing with the promise of something greater. My heart flickered with curiosity, and trepidation gripped me. What could possibly lie within? Was it a secret that Tom had intended to keep hidden? I hesitated, mind racing through tangled thoughts of loyalty and betrayal. Opening it felt like digging into a grave best left undisturbed. Finally, I pried it open with a mix of hope and dread. There, ensconced in the velvet-lined interior, was a vintage Rolex watch. The sight of it caught my breath. An elegant timepiece once belonging to my husband's estranged father, a man I'd only heard about in whispers muddled with disdain. Somehow, the elegance of the watch felt like a cruel joke, a tantalizing hint at a legacy marred by familial failure. My fingers touched the smooth metal, and an electrifying chill spiraled from my fingertips to my core. What this watch represented loomed large in my mind, a genealogy stained with secrets that Tom never found the strength to address. As a nurse, I was used to grappling with life and death, but this was different. This was about the future I'd lost and the uncertainties that bled into my present. I could cling to my husband's memory or venture into the agony of the truth. My heart ached with the duality of sorrow and curiosity. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. I decided to confront this shadowy family history, a moral quandary gnawing at the fringes of my conscience. Each question birthed more questions. How had this watch ended up in that safe? What truths had Tom buried? The local diner buzzed with gossip about my loss, whispers brushing against me like cold air, deepening my isolation. The gravity of the information was paralyzing. What if pursuing these mysteries led me down a path that further distanced me from Tom's love? Then, rummaging deeper into the safe, my fingers grazed a piece of paper, crinkled and yellowed. A letter addressed to Tom. The familiar, shaky handwriting made my stomach churn. It echoed of unresolved pain, the kind of pain I feared and craved to understand. As I stood frozen with the letter clutched in my hand, the gnawing question loomed larger. Could uncovering the past solidify my resolve to honor Tom's memory, or shatter the fragile peace I fought so hard to maintain? A hesitant knock echoed through the stillness of the house, tension taut as a tightrope stretched beneath my feet. The knock shattered the silence like glass, jarring me out of my spiraling thoughts. My heart pounded as I glanced toward the living room, the shadow of a figure looming outside the frosted glass. Who could it be at this hour? I set the letter down carefully, as if it were made of glass, and approached the door. Each step felt weighted, a reminder of the fork in my path, understanding Tom's legacy or navigating the uncharted waters of secrets. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door, revealing Mary, Tom's closest childhood friend. She stood on the threshold, rain slicked against her dark hair, concern etched across her face. "Hey, I didn't know if you'd be home," she said, her voice a mix of awkwardness and sympathy. "Can I come in?" I nodded, stepping aside to let her enter. As she crossed the threshold, I felt the tension in the room shift, her presence a reminder of shared smiles and laughter that existed before the storm. She glanced around, taking in the boxes and dust, her eyes landing on the safe still ajar. "Are you okay?" she asked, her gaze lingering on me, searching for some truth. "Not really," I confessed, my words spilling out more easily than I expected. "I found this," I gestured toward the safe, the watch glinting behind its velvet lining as if it were winking with secrets. And this letter, I admitted, feeling the weight of both the paper and my uncertainty. Tom never talked about his family much, did he? Mary said, shifting uncomfortably. He was so private about that part of his life. Her words wrapped around me like a tendril of smoke, a reminder of the barriers Tom built around his past. I just didn't expect this search would lead to this. I thought I had a grasp on who he was. Mary stepped closer, her hands gently clasped in front of her. Sometimes, the people we think we know best hide the most. It's okay to explore that, you know. Her encouragement clashed with my internal skepticism. What if delving deeper into the past revealed things I couldn't unlearn? I'm worried about what I might find, I admitted. What if it changes everything? Or what if it empowers you? She countered. You're a nurse, Annie. You face tough truths every day with your patients and their families. Maybe it's time to face some truths of your own. The challenge in her tone struck a chord. I had spent years guiding others through their challenges while neglecting my own questioning heart. Yet here I was, wrestling with the unknown in the shadows left behind by Tom, battling an emotional storm that could flip my world upside down. I grasped the letter once more, clutching it like a lifeline. This letter could change everything. What if it reveals truths Tom didn't want me to know? What if it reveals a side of him I never grasped? That's the risk, she said, unwaveringly. But it might also bring clarity, closure, maybe even a sense of freedom. The warmth of determination welled within me, battling the cold grasp of fear. As I looked into Mary's reassuring eyes, I felt a spark ignite. A mix of trepidation and resolve simmered beneath the surface. My heart raced again, enveloped by the notion that perhaps confronting Tom's hidden truths could forge a connection to my own past, allowing me to reclaim pieces of my life that had been swallowed by grief. I could learn, grow, and eventually heal from the buried pain. What I needed was to dive deeper, to honor the life we shared, but also seek the truth locked away in that letter. The decision crystallized with every layer of doubt peeled back. I felt a surge of resolve coursing through me. Okay, I said, finally meeting Mary's gaze with steadiness. I need to open the letter. I need to confront whatever's inside. The moment held a gravity that felt monumental. As I unfolded the crinkled edges of the letter, a tremor surged through me, intertwining my courage with dread. It was time to wrestle with the ghosts of the past and find out once and for all what Tom had wanted to keep hidden, and as I began to read, the silence of the room thickened, holding its breath for the revelations that lay ahead, unaware of how much they would shift the ground beneath me. The first words of the letter leapt off the page, crystalline in their clarity yet murky in their implications. A rush of adrenaline surged through me as I read the opening lines. Annie, if you're reading this, it means I'm no longer by your side. Each word landed like a stone, heavy and unyielding. I glanced up at Mary, who had taken a seat, her expression a mixture of support and concern. The air was thick with tension. It felt as if even the walls were straining to hear what would follow. The letter unfolded Tom's past in sweeping strokes, revealing hidden complexities I'd never imagined. Memories I thought were solid were now washed in shades of uncertainty. He mentioned friends I had never met, struggles I had never known, and dreams that flickered like dying embers. Each revelation peeled back layers of the man I believed I'd understood completely, exposing a vulnerability that threatened to fracture the illusion of my idealized husband. As I continued to read, disbelief threatened to smother me. Tom had a family, one he had never spoken of, and a life that existed beyond our shared moments. There were names, places, and stories that spun a web of connection I was wholly unprepared for. Why didn't he share any of this with me? The question slipped from my lips, more an accusation against myself than against Tom. We were supposed to share everything. Maybe he was protecting you, Mary suggested gently, the compassion evident in her eyes. Or perhaps he was protecting himself from the pain of his past. I didn't want to accept that as an explanation. The weight of grief I carried already felt too heavy. How could I navigate a life intertwined with someone who had concealed such fundamental truths? The letter continued, punctuated by moments of raw honesty. Tom spoke of regrets, unfulfilled promises, and profound love for me, messages that should have soothed but instead ignited a turmoil within. My accomplishments as a nurse, my patient care, my capacity to navigate complexity, it all suddenly seemed to retreat beneath the tidal wave of personal upheaval. "Are you all right?" Mary asked, her voice breaking through the fog of my spiraling thoughts. I don't know. I thought facing the past would help me heal. But what if it just unearths pain? The tremor in my voice betrayed the confidence I had feigned just moments earlier. "Confronting and embracing those feelings, even the painful ones, is part of growth," she reminded me. "Maybe you'll find pieces of yourself in his story. Maybe this is exactly what you need to reclaim your narrative." Her perspective nudged me towards clarity. I was a healer, someone who unearthed truths and approached crises with compassion. The familiarity of that role enveloped me like a warm blanket, igniting a flicker of resolve in the dark. The thought of Tom's untold narratives resonated within me. Those stories weren't just relics of his life, they were potential guides for my own. The complexities he faced echoed my struggles, and perhaps, by vulnerably confronting both, I could find a sense of empowerment akin to what I bring to my patients daily. Determination surged as I continued down the page, the revelations twisting my perception yet offering the glimmers of hope I so desperately sought. I would not shy away from the truths he left behind. Unraveling his past could illuminate the path forward, not just for me, but for understanding the essence of who he truly was, who we had been together. Just as I absorbed the profound depth of his words, my eye caught a final, unsettling detail, a name and address etched in the margins that sparked an instinctual shift within me. A new direction awaited, one that propelled me beyond this moment and into a tangible confrontation with the realities Tom had avoided. The realization hit me: Mary was right. This journey was about more than closure, it was about reclaiming my own narrative in the shadow of his. What if this leads me to the answers I need? I thought, the prospect electrifying my resolve. I took a deep breath, contemplating that address, imagining what it might unveil. With each pulse of curiosity thrumming in my heart, I knew the next step was calling me. The time had come to face the origins of those hidden connections, secrets that could unravel me, or perhaps set me free. Would I dare walk that path? The day began with a veil of gray clouds hanging low in the sky, mirroring the tumult inside me. After a night spent grappling with Tom's letter, I felt an urgency swell within me, demanding I confront the unknown. The name and address scrawled in the margins echoed in my mind like a pulse, an insistence that could not be ignored. I had a mission, no, a calling to seek the truth buried beneath layers of his secrecy. As I steered my car toward the unfamiliar neighborhood, anxiety threatened to wrest control from my resolve. The streets were lined with a surprising mix of old Victorian homes and modern builds, telling stories of change, progression, and the echoes of the past. I was drawn to the address like a moth to a flame. Curiosity and dread intertwined, each turn of the wheel urging me forward yet holding me back. Arriving at the destination, a quaint bungalow with a peeling paint facade, I hesitated outside the door. My heart raced, each thump echoing my mounting hesitance. Behind that door could lie answers or more tangled questions. I inhaled deeply, gathered the flickering remnants of my determination, and knocked. Moments felt like hours, until finally, a woman answered. Her gray hair framed a weathered face, instantly recognizing the weight of my purpose. "Annie?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, as if speaking louder might shatter something fragile. "That's me," I managed, a tremor in my reply. I searched her face for clues, for a hint of familiarity. "I'm here about Tom." Her gaze shifted, initially soft but quickly hardening with guarded wisdom. "Come in." The room was cluttered, filled with knickknacks and framed photographs, all claiming space yet offering no direct invitation into Tom's hidden world. I stepped inside, feeling the gravity of the past pressing against my chest. "Tom spoke of you often," the woman began, her voice a mixture of nostalgia and sorrow. "He had a complicated life." I nodded, desperately wanting to uncover the nuances behind her vague description. "Why didn't he share this with me?" "Some things are hard to admit," she replied softly, her eyes glistening. "The things we bury, the secrets we think will protect us from pain." We delved into the fragmented pieces of Tom's life, together reconstructing a narrative obscured by his silence. She revealed stories that mirrored those in his letter, of ambitions thwarted, friendships lost, and the family he left when he chose a new path. But in each revelation, hope flickered. Here was someone who knew him beyond the facade, and in turn, someone who could help me understand my own reflection in his life. As we exchanged details, I learned about a buried treasure, the Rolex that had first brought him to this woman, a mutual connection forged in absence and longing. He never understood its worth, she said, a hint of sadness in her tone. But it wasn't just the watch. It was a reminder of who he used to be. An opportunity clicked in my mind, awakening a sense of agency I had thought lost. Tom's identity wasn't just about past secrets, it was about reclaiming what had been discarded. If the Rolex had significance, perhaps investigating its story could be my way forward. Do you know where it is now? I asked, a blend of trepidation and eagerness surging through me. Her response was soft yet enigmatic. Sometimes, we must walk through the shadows to find the light. The encounter imbued a new sense of clarity. I was not just a grieving wife, I was a seeker, standing at the precipice of rediscovery. Each revelation glinted like shards of glass, offering a glimpse into the broader tapestry of Tom's life and my own journey. As I left her home, the sky seemed to brighten, the clouds parting just enough for patches of sunlight to break through. The address had led me to a deeper understanding, but also into the realization of the paths I could forge for myself. The weight of Tom's past no longer felt like a burden, it had become a bridge, a stepping stone for my own metamorphosis. What lay ahead was still uncertain, but one thing was clear, I stood at the threshold of transformation. Before I could succumb to reflection, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A message flashed on the screen from Mary. Did you find what you were looking for? This one small inquiry ignited a surge of introspection. Determined to respond, I texted back, I'm just getting started. Then, whispering a silent resolve, I knew I was entering a new chapter of not just understanding Tom, but of reclaiming my narrative, discovering where I fit in his puzzle and, more importantly, where I could thrive as my own person. Would the Rolex lead me to further answers? The thought lingered, promising revelations that could propel my journey, but entangled with the deeper question, who was I meant to become in the wake of his truths? The sun dipped low in the sky, casting golden rays that danced through the trees, illuminating my path. I had driven away from the shadows of the past and into the bright potential of what lay ahead. Slotting the key into the ignition, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I was not just seeking the Rolex, I was reclaiming my identity, forged through the ashes of what I thought I had known. As I pulled back onto the road, my thoughts raced. I began to formulate a plan, dissecting the fibers of Tom's life as though they were a tapestry unraveling in my hands. The Rolex wasn't just an object, it was a portal to understanding him, to unthreading the secrets that had poisoned our relationship. My initial fears morphed into strategic analysis. I wasn't just a widow stifled by grief, but a detective stepping into a narrative that could reshape my own. I reached for my phone, considering my next steps. If the watch had significance, understanding where it had been and why it had been left behind could reveal insights into Tom's choices. I needed contacts, connections, people who could help me navigate this territory. First on my list was Mary, a friend who had always been an intuitive listener and a resourceful ally. Hey, are you free to meet? I texted her, the response was quick. Always. What's up? Feeling a mixture of hope and apprehension, I messaged back, I need your help uncovering something about Tom. Her reply flashed instantly, curiosity peeking through the screen, sure. Let us meet up. We sat at a bustling cafe, the aroma of roasting coffee beans intermingling with the whispers of conversations around us. I poured out the details, the encounter with the woman, the Rolex, and my uncertainty about the path I had chosen. Mary's eyes widened with interest, each revelation drawing her further into my chaotic narrative. That watch might be the key to his past and to your future, she suggested thoughtfully. But how are you planning to find it? A wave of determination surged through me at her words. I have a few leads. I need to connect with the people who might know where it ended up. Maybe even locate any dealer who would have bought it or someone who was interested in it when he left. Mary nodded, her expression shifting from concern to encouragement. You know, you're handling this with a lot more strength than I expected. It's like you're emerging from this fog, ready to dig deeper. Emerging, yes, I murmured, reflecting on the layers of my own evolution. But still wondering how many more layers there are. I think it depends on how far you're willing to go. Her straightforward honesty jolted me. Mary had a knack for cutting through my self-doubt, pushing me to confront my hesitations. What's at stake for you? A moment of silence enveloped the table. I wrestled internally with the realization that this journey wasn't merely about the watch, it was about Tom's choices and my implication in them. The enormity of that understanding left me reeling. I need to know what he valued most and whether I was a part of that. Without that, I can't truly move on. The conviction in my voice surprised me. As we sipped our coffees, plotting my next strategic steps, my thoughts sharpened. I could contact old friends of Tom's, search through records of antique shops, even join forums devoted to collector watches. This wasn't just about finding a lost object, it was my leap into a new version of myself, but what awaited me beyond this point? The tension twisted tight in my chest, uncertain whether I'd discover a shattered illusion or a tapestry of connections yet to be revealed. What if Tom's past was filled with regrets that implicated me? My resolve faltered under that possibility. I could help you with research or even reach out to some contacts in the antique community, Mary suggested, anchoring my turbulent thoughts. Let us do that, I responded, newfound clarity guiding my determination. But I have to meet that woman again. She holds pieces I can't quite put together on my own. As we finalized our plans, urgency surged, overshadowing the shadows of the past. I was ready to confront the ghosts of Tom's choices, not purely for closure but to ignite my own clarity. With a final sip of coffee, I sensed the impending weight of what was coming next. I stood at a precipice, ready to seize every clue, each encounter leading me deeper into an understanding of both Tom's world and my own. But as excitement coursed through me, an unsettling question whispered in the back of my mind: was the truth something I truly sought, or was it a way to finally disentangle myself from shadows that clung to my soul? The reckoning loomed, and I could only wonder, what was Tom's treasure truly worth? The following morning felt charged with purpose, a fresh canvas awaiting my brushstrokes. I had spent half the night crafting a strategy, piecing together fragments of Tom's life into a form I could analyze. My heart raced at the thought of the woman I was about to meet again, the potential guardian of truths I had yet to uncover. I had avoided confronting my questions for too long. Now, I was ready to face whatever lay at the end of this journey, and navigating the familiar streets, my mind buzzed with scenarios, each hypothetical outcome more intense than the last. If I learned where the Rolex had gone, could that reshape my understanding of Tom? Did it signify regret or renunciation? What deep-seated longing might it reveal? Arriving at the cafe, I scanned the tables, catching sight of her, an enigmatic figure occupied with her phone, immersed in a world I knew nothing about. I approached, the warmth of the sun juxtaposed with a chill in my spine. "Hey, I'm glad we could meet," I said, forcing a smile despite the turmoil flipping in my stomach. She looked up, her expression unreadable. "I wasn't sure you'd come back." There it was, an unexpected vulnerability. I needed answers. "You mentioned knowing more about the watch, right?" Her gaze drifted for a moment, and it felt as if an electric current had passed between us. The Rolex wasn't just another piece, it was part of a story, Tom's story. "You may not like everything that comes with it. Let us not waste time, just tell me," I urged, an edge creeping into my voice. Was I ready for what I would hear? Could I handle another shadow over his memory? She hesitated, eyeing me thoughtfully. Tom had it because it meant something to him. He didn't wear it for show, but perhaps as a reminder of something, a promise, maybe. My breath caught. A promise? She nodded, her expression serious now. Yes. Before he left, he spoke about wanting to turn his life around. That watch was meant to be a symbol of that change, a gateway to something better. But he never got the chance. This revelation stirred a torrent within me. Tom's intentions had been lofty, but the reality he left behind was fraught with contradictions. So he never let go of it? I pressed. What does that mean about us? Was I part of that promise? Yes, to an extent, she replied, her voice low, almost sympathetic. But there was more. He was distracted by what he was leaving behind, consumed by unresolved conflicts. That's why it's in limbo, like everything else. Her words pierced deeper than expected. I had thought this journey was solely about unearthing an object, yet it was shaping into something truly profound, the exploration of Tom's inner chaos and my role within that narrative. "Where is the watch now?" I asked, my urgency rising. She paused before answering. "I can help you track it down if you're serious about digging up all the dirt. But you should know, not all revelations are easy to digest. Bring them on. I can handle whatever comes my way," I declared, bolstered by a sense of newfound strength. As we exchanged plans for pursuing leads, an unsettling realization gripped me. What if this journey unraveled more than just the mystery of a Rolex? What if it exposed aspects of my own life that I had hidden even from myself? Once separated from the cafe, my thoughts spiraled. What secrets about Tom remained buried in the shadows of his past? Walking away, I grasped the direction of this path more clearly, yet I felt a subtle tension, like a coil wound too tight, waiting to snap. With each step forward, I could sense the truths looming closer, and the stakes rising higher. My heart beat with an intensity that matched the chase, but the imminent question lingered: was I truly prepared to confront the darker corners of our story? The moment I left the cafe, I knew this was only the beginning of a depth I had hardly glimpsed. And as the day unfolded, a pulse of urgency deepened. Would I find the Rolex, or would the search expose a greater truth that could alter everything I believed? The early afternoon sun hung low, filtering through the trees lining the street like hopeful fingers reaching for clarity. Each passing moment felt essential as I made my way toward our next rendezvous, a nondescript warehouse on the outskirts of town that Tom had frequented before his departure from this life. My heart raced, each pulse a reminder of how fragile understanding can be, how deep the shadows of unexplainable choices could extend. Navigating through the industrial maze, I could feel the weight of Tom's secrets pressing against my chest. The promise that had attached itself to that Rolex was more than I expected, and I resolved once again to uncover the truth about not just the watch, but about Tom himself. What did it mean that he had sought transformation yet had been ensnared by his past? As I stepped into the warehouse, the echo of my footsteps bounced off concrete walls, reminiscent of empty promises or abandoned dreams. A cluster of boxes and old furniture provided a kind of distorted comfort, each item telling a story, begging for recognition. I was here to find the Rolex, but deeper revelations awaited in the corners of this space. That I kicked off the dust from my shoes, scanning the area for clues. A part of me braced for something to leap out from the shadows, as if Tom's whispers would finally crystallize into tangible form. Just as I was about to turn back, my phone vibrated violently in my pocket. It was a new message, a photograph of the Rolex. That I stared at the screen, breath hitching in my throat. The watch gleamed under the cool light of a glass counter, but the context was jarring. This wasn't merely a thing to be traded or cherished, it was enshrined in a grim spectacle. I felt the weight of inevitability settle over me. I was to confront not just Tom's choices, but also my reaction to those choices and what they implied about my own life. "Meet me at the old pawn shop," the message read. There are layers to this story. My mind raced. A pawn shop. It seemed a fitting final resting place for Tom's dreams of redemption, for the very promise he wanted to uphold. Yet, a part of me trembled with anxiety. What if confronting the stones of Tom's choices led me to confront my own? This was my chance to reclaim my narrative, to choose where I wanted the arc of my life to bend. That I quickly gathered up my thoughts, summoning the resolve to face whatever truths awaited me. Would I uncover reason behind his choices, or would my heart be further burdened by guilt? Either way, I needed to prepare, not merely physically, but mentally. With each step toward the pawn shop, my motivations morphed. I was no longer solely on a quest for a lost object, I was on a path to reclaiming a piece of myself that had been stifled by grief and uncertainty. I reflected on my role in Tom's life, crafting a mosaic of what-ifs and maybes. What had I permitted to remain unresolved? Pulling my jacket tighter around me, I felt the chill seep in, mirroring the creeping doubt that gnawed at my resolve. But I couldn't turn back now. I needed not just the Rolex, but understanding, a reckoning, if you will. As I rounded the corner, my heart quickened, anticipation coiling in my veins alongside apprehension. What if this was a major turning point? The question loomed larger: would I find the answers to the mysteries of Tom, or would I uncover reflections of myself I'd long locked away? the pawn shop door creaked open, inviting and foreboding. My discovery was just beyond the threshold, waiting to unfold, but already I felt another twist of fate coiling beneath the surface, and as I stepped through, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the prologue to a greater revelation yet to come, one that would shape my future in ways I could scarcely imagine. What awaited inside that pawn shop could change everything. The air inside the pawn shop was thick with the scent of antiquity and faded dreams. A low hum of barely their music floated through the dim light, adding an unsettling texture to an already charged atmosphere. My mind swirled with questions as I stood just inside the door, my fingertips brushing against the cool metal of my phone. The message still lingered in the back of my mind. There are layers to this story. I had to peel those layers back as I scanned the cluttered interior, filled with mismatched furniture, old records, and mysterious objects from lives long past. Each item felt like a fragment of someone's history, discarded yet meaningful. The Rolex could hide here among the relics, its stories entwined with the lives of those who had owned it before. But it could also hold Tom's secrets, and I needed to be ready for what I might find. "Can I help you?" The voice startled me. A thin man emerged from the shadows, hands buried deep in his pockets. His face bore the wear of unspoken burdens, a mirror of my own turmoil. "I'm looking for something specific," I replied, forcing calm into my voice. "A watch. A Rolex." The man raised an eyebrow, the slightest flicker of recognition crossing his features. "A lot of stories tied to watches, you know. What's yours?" His question hit hard, stirring something inside me. This wasn't just a search for a lost object. My quest was about understanding Tom's unraveling, about digging deep into my grief and confusion. I realized I needed to articulate not only the watch's significance but its place within my past too. "Tom, my husband, he used to have one," I admitted, each word feeling like a weight lifting slightly off my shoulders. It meant something to him, a promise of change. Change? Or escape? He murmured, his gaze piercing through me, challenging my resolve. My heart raced. I wanted to protest, to defend the man I loved, but the raw honesty of the statement hung between us, unavoidable. "Maybe a bit of both," I conceded, my voice wavering. "But it shouldn't have ended the way it did." Suddenly, the weight of resentment and unfinished business crashed down on me. Tom had left a trail of unanswered questions, and now I stood on the precipice of confronting the truth. My motivations aligned. This wasn't only about reclaiming a physical item. It was about reclaiming agency in my own narrative, about understanding how his choices had directed my path, the pawn owner motioned for me to follow. As we moved through the narrow aisles, fears mingled with flashes of determination. I couldn't let this moment slip through my fingers. I had to confront the parts of my story that felt lost or distorted. What if discovering the watch led me to a greater understanding of Tom, and perhaps, even of myself? We arrived at a glass display case cluttered with watches of all shapes and sizes. My breath caught as the proprietor pointed at a gleaming Rolex tucked in the corner. "You sure that's the one? Not all that glitters is gold, you know." I leaned in, and the world outside dissolved. This was it, the object that could unravel the tangled fabric of Tom's choices, or perhaps bind me closer to his memory. As I prepared to reach for it, I hesitated. Was this just a relic, or the key to unlocking truths I had buried? "No, wait," I said, pulling my hand back. "Tell me more about it. Where did it come from?" I needed context, the underlying story that fed into every tick of its mechanism. That I was ready for the truth, ready to face the intricacies of Tom's life. In that moment, I understood. The reconciliation I sought could only come through understanding the complexity of choice, regret, and redemption. The shopkeeper smiled slightly, sensing my resolve. "Well, let us see what we can uncover together. History has a way of surprising us." As he began to share the watch's origins, a new realization dawned on me. This was more than just about Tom. It was about embracing my journey, the good, the painful, and everything in between. But as I listened, I couldn't shake the feeling that another layer lay ahead, waiting to be revealed. What truths awaited as we delved deeper? What unforeseen connections would lead me down pathways I had yet to traverse? The clock was ticking not just on the watch, but on my own journey of self-discovery. I needed to prepare myself for the possibility that my exploration could unveil not just Tom's lost promises, but my hidden potential. The shopkeeper adjusted his glasses and began. This particular Rolex came from an estate sale not too far from here, a man who had lived alone for many years. People often turn to pieces like this watch as symbols of something they hope to recapture or avoid. Listening intently, I felt a connection begin to form, not just to the watch, but to the previous owner. Was it possible that the cycles of grief and longing transcended time? My quest wasn't unique. We all bore the weight of our pasts differently, yet the consequences were profound. Do you know anything about the man who owned it? I inquired, my voice barely above a whisper, the heaviness of the moment hanging like fog. His name was Victor. Once a high-powered executive, very successful, yet he had stories of betrayal and lies just like your husband's, the shopkeeper replied, staring into the distance as though recalling a deeply buried memory. He carried this watch not as a reminder of success, but as a reminder of his failures. His words struck me like a bolt of lightning. Tom had been so caught up in his career, and in his aspirations, that he had forgotten the importance of the life around him. The Rolex now before me was a symbol of everything unfulfilled, a reflection of unspoken dreams and fractured promises. What happened to him? I asked, unable to suppress my curiosity, desperate to reconcile my feelings. He died alone, the shopkeeper said, his voice somber. But his watch, it came to us, a testament to the man he once was. A reminder of both glory and despair. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. I felt a familiar pit in my stomach. In Victor's story, I recognized shadows of Tom's choices. Both men had sought something elusive, perhaps forgetting the connections right in front of them. That realization set something off in me, a surge of clarity amid the confusion. Do you think we're destined to repeat their mistakes? I asked, my own doubts surfacing with each inquiry. Or can understanding their stories change our narrative? The shopkeeper's brow furrowed with contemplation. Understanding is the first step, but what you do with that knowledge shapes the next chapter of your own story. His words hung in the air, resonating in the chaotic wilderness of my thoughts. What if by uncovering Tom's secrets, I could reshape my future? Could this be the moment that not only connected me to Tom's past but propelled me forward? I could almost feel the gears within the Rolex ticking loudly, echoing the shifting dynamics of my emotional landscape. I needed to feel empowered, to carve out my narrative from the ashes of grief, and this watch could be my catalyst. Let us unlock its story, I proclaimed, more to myself than to him. But I need to know everything. Every detail, every connection. The shopkeeper nodded, his expression shifting from mere observer to a sort of guide. Very well. Let's dissect this piece right before us, one layer at a time. As he retrieved the watch, a sense of urgency washed over me. I wasn't just looking for Tom's answers. In searching for the truth buried within this relic, I realized I could find my strength, my reason to move beyond the weight of my past. Victor's life is intricately tied to this watch, and so is Tom's. But it's only a part of the journey, he warned as we examined it closely. Finding the watch could lead you somewhere you may not be prepared for. My heart raced with the thrill of uncovering hidden depths, but a whisper of apprehension lingered. What if I discovered not just answers, but complicated truths that would challenge my beliefs, my understanding of love, and my ability to forgive? As we broke the silence with discussion, determination surged within me. I wanted to reshape the narrative, to reclaim my identity beyond grief. Yet, the unsettled feeling remained. What if I wasn't ready to confront everything this journey would unveil? The watch radiated potential, but it also bore witness to darker stories. I had taken the first steps onto a road that could lead me to redemption or deeper despair. It was time to face the hidden dimensions of my life, and to excavate the person I needed to become. However, as we delved deeper into Victor's life and the stories around him, I mysteriously felt as if each tick of the watch echoed a secret yet to be revealed. It lingered, a reminder of truths waiting just beneath the surface, perhaps truths that could forever alter my perception of love and loss. What deeper realization awaited as I unraveled the intertwined fates of Tom and Victor? Would the past guide me toward healing, or pull me into a conflict I wasn't prepared to face? As Annie stood in the dimly lit pawn shop, the weight of the moment settled over her like a heavy fog. The Rolex gleamed enticingly on the display, yet it harbored stories that pressed for release. This wasn't just a watch, it was a key that could unlock the truths that had been buried, a tangible connection to the past that might illuminate her path forward. Each watch carries echoes of its owners' lives, the shopkeeper mused, pulling her attention back to the present. Some find glory, others find regret. But every story is worth telling. His kind eyes held a knowing gaze that sparked something within her. Annie felt a surge of resolve, the shadows of grief and doubt flickering like a flame. She was not merely here to reclaim a piece of Tom's past. She was charting the course of her future. "Let us uncover the history tied to this watch," Annie declared, a newfound fierceness coloring her voice. She felt as if she were peeling back the layers of her own existence along with Tom's. Each tick of the watch echoed a heartbeat, the heartbeat of lives intertwined. As the shopkeeper recounted tales of Victor, the previous owner, Annie began to see the parallels between them. Victor's loneliness, combined with his struggle for redemption, mirrored Tom's own conflicted life. Annie had watched Tom grapple with his past decisions while trying to be the man she believed he could be. This realization resonated deep within her, illuminating the path of self-discovery she had long neglected to explore. "Understanding others is the first step toward understanding ourselves," the shopkeeper said, his eyes penetrating hers. "What did Tom want you to learn through this?" Feeling the imperative energy swirling around her, Annie leaned forward. "He wanted to protect me, I think. But at what cost? I need to know what he was shielding me from and what I was missing." With each word, she peeled off the layers of confusion that had wrapped around her heart since Tom's passing. As they discussed Victor's life, the stories emerged, decisions that led to regret, moments of desperation that echoed a familiar resonance with her own experiences. The conversations revealed regrets that could have been Tom's without the resolution he had sought. Annie found immense satisfaction in this nexus of understanding. Both men had fought battles that had shaped their identities, and she now stood at the intersection of those narratives. "Your journey is about reclamation, not just of the watch, but of your identity," the shopkeeper asserted, a hint of encouragement in his tone. Annie felt the remnants of doubt beginning to crumble in the face of undeniable clarity. She had allowed grief to anchor her for too long, but now, empowered with knowledge, she sensed a rebirth unfolding, a rebirth that would enable her to reclaim the vibrant life she had once lived. "Where is the watch, then?" she pressed, determination surging through her. "If Victor's life intertwined with Tom's, I need to find out how." The shopkeeper smiled knowingly. "I have a contact who deals with vintage pieces. He may know more about where the watch ended up after Victor's passing. Are you willing to continue this journey?" Without hesitation, Annie nodded. "Absolutely. I need to know everything, not just for me but to honor Tom's memory." Each word unfurled a sense of agency around her. The search for the Rolex had morphed into a quest for her own self-understanding, for honoring the layers of love and loss that defined her existence. Days turned into weeks as Annie followed leads, each discovery yielding new revelations about Tom and Victor. The watch became a metaphor, something she was not just searching for but preparing to wield as a testament to strength and courage. Through interviews with friends and rummaging through unvisited corners of Tom's life, she found pieces of his past that had once remained obscured, allowing her to confront the complexity of grief and healing. Finally, the day arrived when she secured a meeting with the dealer who had last sold the Rolex. As she approached the sleek boutique nestled in the heart of the city, a nervous excitement danced within her. Every step she took reaffirmed her newfound confidence, the confidence to face not just Tom's past but her own. "Annie." The dealer greeted her warmly, recognizing the fire in her determination. "You're looking for answers, I presume?" "I'm ready to uncover everything," Annie said, her voice steadied. As the dealer began to recount the entire journey of the Rolex, Annie realized it was no longer just about a watch. Every story, every person she encountered along the way, had transformed her understanding of love, loss, and resilience. Each story carved deeper grooves in her heart, leading to the ultimate revelation, a powerful acceptance of both the triumphant and painful threads that wove Tom's life and her own. In that moment, standing at the crossroad of past and future, Annie felt a profound shift within her. She had traveled through sorrow to discover a newfound joy intertwined with understanding, the joy of reclaiming her identity. Annie knew, without a doubt, that life would carry on, and though grief would always be part of her journey, she was no longer defined by loss. She had achieved clarity that transformed her, revealing the empowered woman she had always been. As she stepped out of the dealer's shop, the sky was a brilliant blue, the sun glistening brightly, delivering a message of hope. Annie walked forward with her head held high, no longer shrouded in shadows, but stepping into light. This was the moment she achieved her personal victory, stronger, transformed, ready to live fully as her own woman. The story of the Rolex was merely a beginning as Annie reclaimed the narrative of her life, stepping into a future enriched by lessons learned and truths embraced. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread these powerful messages. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Let's dive deep into this journey together. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share, because true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.